Welcome to Flatfoots and Fools, a podcast about detective games. I'm Andrew, and today I'm joined by my partner, Mav. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Excited for this one. Excited for Murder on the Orient Express. And how are you doing, man?
Oh, I'm pretty good. I am always down for any train-involved murders.
And was down for murder and trains.
Yes. And I'm a little worried that my lovely kitten, the princess, will attempt to break down the door while I'm recording. But hopefully that doesn't happen.
The cat wants what the cat wants.
Yes. She is 80% angel and 20% goober. But before we get to the game, we can break the timeline a little bit and say we finally published the podcast.
Yeah.
Yes.
This was the first recording after we've let our friends hear our voices and spamming everything we have and know everybody else.
My coworkers, because I've been talking about the project, and they're like, so when are you going to let us finally listen to this? So they all got to hear that.
I haven't sent it to my coworkers yet because I work at a university. But my friends sent to my cousin. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
I have not listened to myself, though.
I have not listened to it from the published end, but I go through all the episodes for the spoiler sections. Our editor, he does magic. Are you ready to jump in?
Yes, I've been excited for this one. I'm not going to lie, this has been my favorite game so far.
Nice. So today we are here for 2023's Agatha Christie, Murder on the Orient Express, developed by Microids Lyon. This one is the fourth of the modern ongoing Poirot series of games. It's part of the same series as the first cases and the London case, but it's made by a different studio in a different style so that it kind of feels like it's not the same series.
There's no way it's the same series.
Same franchise, maybe?
I didn't get that feeling. Like maybe these same people. It's like the DC animated movies after DCU was done of like Batman and stuff. It's just different Batman. I'm going to have to learn how to say his name. Hercule. Different Hercules.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's good because the way they did this one worked a lot better for me than the last one or two. So I'm happy with the shift and the way things went. They're back to an Agatha Christie plot instead of doing a new story. So if you've read the books or watched the movie, you're going to know the overall plot beats. We'll avoid the major spoilers just in case until we hit the spoiler section. But we will talk about the general bits before that. So yeah, this game starts out with a nice example mini case at the hotel before you get on the train, which introduces you to the mechanics. It's also still currently playable as a demo. So if you want to try this out, you can go on Steam, download the demo, and try out this introductory case for free.
It's worth playing.
Yeah. Made a solid learning tool. The opening itself didn't grab me, but as soon as I got onto the train, everything clicked a lot better. I'm not sure if you ended up feeling the same way.
Pretty much the same. It was showing the world in that case in the beginning. I come from a background of watching the Brannigan series of Hercule Poirot, and that's what got me back into detective games, the modern movie series. But then realizing I'm like, this is not set in the 1920s. I don't think that's a spoiler. Like it's in the very beginning of this game. You're in modern times. It's wild.
They set the game in 2023. And
December 2023, right?
Yeah, and the way they put you on a vintage train is it's the 100th anniversary of the train line opening, something like that.
Something like that.
So they bring out the vintage engine and car set. And in that way, they can put you in a very classic 20s, 30s setting while still not actually being in the 20s and 30s.
And while it's a spoiler, I don't think it's a spoiler. We have cell phones in 2023. And you're also in the mountains and there's no cell service. That absolutely makes sense to me.
Most of the story takes place in a cell phone dead zone. And as somebody who grew up in a pretty rural area, as soon as you get over one ridge of hills, like good luck. If you don't have a satellite phone, nada.
Man, doing the notes of this game actually got me into like literally in front of me, I have a Meshtastic communication device and the learning book to be a ham radio operator. Why not? Maybe I'm stuck in a hill with a murderer. Who knows?
And it's fun.
You mean learning about radios, not about murder, right?
Learning about the radios. No murder. We're good. The game has all the murder we need. So you're playing as the titular Poirot for a large chunk of the game.
How long it took you to beat the game?
I'm going to say 9 hours, and then I'll look it up.
I played the game twice, actually. The first time I played for 12 hours. And the second time I got it 9. The reason why I played it twice was because I wanted to 100% the game. Also, it was just a really cozy game. And I needed to take notes, which I'm not complaining about. I really did enjoy it. And the second time around, I got to keep my eyes open on little things. And we'll talk about that.
Yep, I was wrong. It was 13 and a half hours for
Mm.
my playthrough. I don't recall leaving it open and running and just walking away, which occasionally I end up doing. But yeah, so it sounds like 12, 13 hours is about the normal time. This one continues in the lineage of doing the mixed game, where you've got the detective theme and they have the Poirot sort of mind map system again, where you discover clues, it creates nodes, and you link things in order to answer questions. And I think this one was implemented much better than London Case, First Cases, even especially Murder Mystery Machine. And I think it's because instead of having things be completely freeform, where they would just say, oh yeah, link clues to make a deduction with no real idea where you're going, they broke things down here into more specific questions.
Mm-hmm.
It would often be like, okay, who are the suspects for the crime? And you'd be presented with the different people and then the different facts you know about them. And you'd link, who do I know has a motive? And so you'd link all of those. And then the next chapter, you'd go and interview all of those suspects. And it would talk about, okay, who has an alibi and how is it done? And so you'd lay out, all right, well, this person is this person's alibi.
A lot of walking back and forth from one end of the train to another over and over again, though. Not too far. It's only like, I think the whole train's 4 cars?
Yeah, and you don't even have access to the baggage car most of the game. So there's 3 interesting cars. It's like the first class car, the second class car, and the dining and lounge car.
Yeah, there's the drinking car, then there's a lounge, and then the restaurant with the kitchen. And then there's the baggage car that you don't really get to go to. And Hercule refuses to run.
You must walk. And in this very constrained space, it works.
Yes. And because there's only 4 cars, it's not that big of an ask.
And because your train is stranded in the mountains in a snowdrift, you don't have that much of a sense of urgency. Like, you're fine. You're not going anywhere. You're investigating this, but everybody's on the train. What are they going to do? Jump off the train in the middle of the mountains in the winter in rural Serbia? Like, no.
Somebody got murdered.
You know, he was an asshole.
So I guess there's one of the difference between us personally. I'm a city boy. You are, I don't know how you would classify yourself.
I'd say a rural area.
Yeah. I would have a much bigger sense of urgency. Like, yo, who's going to get got next?
Oh, yeah. I would probably be a lot more freaked out if I was actually in this situation. I mean, here it's pretty clear that this wasn't just somebody who's murdering for shits and giggles. Like, this murder happens for a reason.
We getting into spoilers yet?
Let's wait a little bit more on that. It's clear there's a motive for this crime. It's unlikely the killer is just, Tuesday night I stabbed victim number 1. Wednesday night I better find a new person to stab. Probably not going to happen.
And Thursday I do my nails.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah, let's see, what other bits are there? There's an entertaining collectathon system of golden mustaches.
And that's the reason why I went back in to get them.
Yeah, there's a few golden mustaches sprinkled over each level that you can go and find. And it rewards you for trying to examine every part of every scene. The part that ended up bothering me a little bit is as the chapters go on, you're in the train, it respawns them.
Oh.
So let's say you search the entire dining car and kitchen in chapter 4. Well, in chapter 6, you need to do that again because now there might be a golden mustache there.
So I originally played on the Steam Deck.
Ooh.
And then the second time I played it on desktop. And I realized later that I could have went back to the Steam Deck. For some reason, my save files didn't sync up. And I'm pretty sure that I could have went like chapter by chapter instead, just to find the ones I didn't do. But since I wanted to get all the deductions right on one try, so I was like, I'm just going to do it on my computer anyway. So I think in Steam Deck, you can move the save file and jump from chapter to chapter to do it. I think so. I could be wrong.
Now that you've played on both, were there any significant differences in the play experience between the Steam Deck and the desktop?
Having a bigger monitor was better this time for having a 4K screen and everything. And just not being on the move physically I generally play these games while I'm on the train visiting my sister on a train. I'd be like, oh, it's my next stop. I better find a stopping point. Playing on the computer, I just took my time and it was nice. It's cozy.
And it is a very cozy setting, weirdly. But something about like the vintage train not going anywhere. Let's see. Is there anything else we want to cover before we get deep into the serious spoilers? There's some alternating sections where you play as a detective, Johanna, digging into a past case that dovetails with the current case. You're not playing as Poirot the entire game. You have another detective. It's the same set of controls and systems, just a different character, slightly different setting.
For those who have watched the movie and read the books, this is the difference between the game and the other mediums. They have an extra flavor where it gives background to some of the other characters and other things like that. That's what sets it apart. And I think it was a good addition to the game.
In the other mediums, they always have to describe this past event that happens and tell you that it has relevance for what is going on now. Whereas this game allows you to experience it. I think that was a very good addition. It was fleshing out something that was already there, but in a very minor form.
Okay, personal when we get to the spoilers about that.
Like most of the mechanical stuff is the interviewing, the deduction nodes. They do toss a sprinkling of other types of puzzles in, which is just sort of like, you're getting on the train platform and you've got to deal with the two chefs who are arguing about freezer space. You have to arrange all of the blocks in the grid so that everything fits.
Dude, it's called Tetris. You just had to Tetris them.
There's an even more specific name, but I forget what it's called.
No, this is a gaming podcast, my dude.
Yeah.
Just Tetris is fine. They get it.
And then later you have to do the Towers of Hanoi puzzle to move a stack of crates from one place to another. So little stuff like that. And most of those felt fine. It was sort of like a little breather. They didn't overstay their welcome.
And they don't usually repeat the same puzzle.
Yeah, so each one shows up once, it's there, then it goes. Shall we do it? Dig into the spoiler zone.
Murder.
You have been warned. All right, we're doing it.
Stab, stab, stab.
Yes. Diving in, I really liked the classic plot. After the hotel, you get on the train. You start to meet the characters. You interact with a scuzzy guy named Ratchet who wants to hire you, and Poirot says, fuck off, because he's obviously scummy. You go to sleep. You get woken up a couple times during the night. Apparently the train is having some trouble with the snowdrift. Then you get up in the morning. The train's stuck in the mountains in Serbia. There's snow all around. You can't get out. And one of the passengers, Ratchet, has been killed.
Dun, dun, dun.
And so you start the investigation. And I really liked that it unfolds incrementally. You start with the basic stuff, like you go into the room, you examine the scene, and so then you look for, how did the murderer get in? How did they kill him? Was it right-handed or left-handed? Because these guys look like a bunch of stab wounds. How do you match up with the timeline? You've got a watch that says one thing. You've got characters who say another. You start out with establishing the basic facts, and then you get to interview people on the train. So you start interviewing the various characters and deciding which ones are suspects. And so quickly, there's a couple of them that you zero in on as, okay, these people seem to have some sort of motive. And so you dig into each one a bit and eventually you start checking everybody's alibis and lining up, okay, well, this person was with this person for 2 hours, so neither of them is available for our window, and matching up with alibis. And I thought all of this worked really well.
I had a lot of fun with that. Just the little details when you're searching around, checking for alibis, checking little things. For example, in the prologue, I remember taking notes, searching his room. There's bills like Amex, MasterCard. There's like real world things. It feels really lived in when you look at certain things in the game. The attention to detail was very impressive to me.
Yeah, and it really worked well in the constrained setting of the train. I found it doesn't work as well in the parts that were a lot more open.
Yeah.
But as in, like, there's a lot more space to fill.
One of the small little details I found fascinating is Ratchet's pistol. I don't know how much you know about firearms versus Locke's pistol. Like, Ratchet has a 5.7. Like, it's a very particular kind of weapon, which uses like very modern bullets kind of deal, versus Joanna Locke, the police officer you meet later. She's got a standard issue Glock. Just like the small little details was really cool. And I only noticed that the second time I play it through. You get a better feel of the characters by the items that they have. Like, so it wasn't all just tell you what the characters are. Some of it was like subtle or subconscious show you.
Yeah, that's a really good catch. And I completely missed the firearms.
It's not something you think about in the game. It's just, this is a detective game, but it's like a point and click adventure. Why would they make special assets just for firearms? Like, it was really well thought out. You're going to hear me say that a couple more times about like the little details of this game.
Around this point in the investigation, a person is found drugged in their cabin, and they're not one of the people in the usual manifest. And it is Joanna, the U.S. detective. And she starts telling you the story of how she got there. And that is done with you playing that story. And it is the story of her investigation of the murdered man with respect to a kidnapping for ransom and then eventual murder of a child. And it's the Armstrong family from these stories, which is based on the Lindbergh babies kidnapping in the late 20s. And so you play this, you're investigating this kidnapping, you're interviewing the family members, and it adds a whole life to that backstory that is the background for the current murder case. I wasn't sure how to feel about this part at first, because it was like, oh, we're playing this now. All right. And by the end of it, I was sold on it. Like, yeah, this was a good addition. You get to see how the police locked in on specific characters, why this detective sort of started to lock onto Ratchet, but then things didn't go as planned and Ratchet gets away.
You understand why everybody's like, I'm going to kill this guy.
By the end of it, you're probably thinking, yeah, real scumbag. I could see that.
No jury would ever convict me.
And there's a thing that one of the mechanical things they do that I forgot to mention earlier is the timeline reconstructions. And I really enjoyed this bit because after you've gathered a bunch of clues from a section of the case and we're like, all right, let's lay this out as a timeline. It'll give you 6 to 8 tiles of events happening. And you've got to order them in the order that you think it happened. And this was a nice way of forcing you to assemble all of your thoughts on the case into a coherent timeline, which is something I don't always do already.
True.
The case continues onward. You open up a new set of suspects as you realize, okay, the current murder is connected to the Armstrong case. So you start looking for people who are connected. You find a new group of suspects. They're all connected. And you dig into their past a bit with what you can do on the train. But again, everybody's still all alibied out. Each chapter sort of wraps up with, well, I looked at these suspects, but I'm still not actually that much closer to figuring out who did it.
One fun side comment is in chapter 6, Hercule gets super annoyed that he's got to help everybody before they'll talk to him. I don't know if you remember that little bit.
Yep.
Right when he's about to do one of the gear puzzles, he says that. The way he says e-cigarettes just tickles me. He's the only one that smokes e-cigarettes.
Yeah, it's a very funny emphasis. And the train staff are much more characters than they were in the usual stories. Because conductor Michel is usually a character because he's in the car of significance. But in this game, the chef, the dessert chef, the lounge attendant, and the bartender are all actual characters and suspects that you need to discuss things with, rule out as suspects, do things for, of course. And eventually, you wrap up the original plot line by getting to do the false lead and the true solution. You reconstruct the false lead doing one of these timelines again. At the end, you do the everybody did it reveal, which makes you go through and identify the evidence for each person, and then all of it wraps up. I was thinking, okay, game's over. Let's roll. Surprise, that was only the end of chapter 8. There's 12 chapters, so there was an additional third of the game that I did not see coming.
I remember being very confused when that happened. I think the achievement is that wasn't in the book.
That was definitely a surprise. And so this next section running through, you see in Ratchet's appointment book, there's a meeting in Venice, which the train was going to go by. And so you get off the train to go check his meeting and see what he was going to do. And it's Masquerade in Venice. It's a kind of open location of winding streets. This definitely is where the more limited production budget started to show. I was not a fan of the Venice section at all.
No.
I'm not sure how you felt about it.
Well, there was one part I liked about it, which is the fact that Hercule refuses to run, but Joanna does. So she moves much quicker.
You have to play as her chase down a suspect at one point. Hercule eventually walks along and catches up.
I was hoping that he would just trip the person or something, man.
That would be funny to watch.
Make more sense, the way he acts.
So eventually you figure out that somebody else gets murdered in Venice, and they seem to have been moving money from the ransom payment for Daisy Armstrong. And so case apparently is not done because somebody went out and killed this person, and it wasn't any of your 12 suspects. So you head back onto the train, and they reveal the 13th wound, where apparently somebody else got in and killed Ratchet before the 12 jurors got in and did their stabbing. And for me, that was kind of a like, oh, that's a weird way to do this.
Yeah. Also, I just looked it up. The achievement, it was not in the book, is when you finish chapter 2. So it's much, much earlier than I thought.
Okay.
But yeah, like, that's an interesting moral question, right? If he was dead, you've already established that you're not going to continue investigating these self-proclaimed jurors. But now you're finding out they did not, in fact, murder somebody. Because how do you murder a dead person? That is a legal question, but I'm looking at it from a philosophical standpoint. Does that absolve them of their intent to murder? It's an interesting question. I would argue it does not.
Yeah, a lot of other media, especially the movies, have tried to add a lot more to this story in terms of moral questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know the Branagh movie did it, the BBC David Suchet one did, where at the end he talks about the morality of this killing and whether or not the people should feel free to go or should they feel guilty, and all of that is always added on. The original book is pretty much like he presents the two solutions. There's the conductor uniform who escaped, or everybody here did it, turns to the train conductor and says, which one do you think it was? The train conductor pretty much says, the first one seems like the best solution for everyone involved. Let's do with that. And Poirot says, okay, boom, end of the book, right there. Like there's no moral judgment whatsoever.
It becomes a choose your own adventure?
I mean, not a choose your own adventure as much as just like it ends in a way that your imagination for what comes next is the resolution.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant about choose your own adventure.
So he doesn't opine on the morality of letting these 12 killers go free because they may be killers, but maybe they're not murderers. He just says it and presents the solution.
Yeah.
And like, I get why oftentimes you want to add more to a movie because it's sort of like you get to this climax and then there's no falling action and no resolution. So the book just chops right there. Whereas most of the movies, they add a bit more. But I thought it was kind of interesting here because instead of adding a bit more to that section of the story, they just created a completely new zone and story section. Because you eventually, after you investigate the 13th wound, you go to Switzerland, where the person who was killed is a banker. And you need to break into Ratchet's safety deposit box at this bank.
Not really break in. You're more like scamming your way in.
Yeah. Johanna goes to the banker's home to interview people, and Poirot goes to the bank, and you're texting each other information.
She goes to the bank. He goes to the house or the apartment.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was. My bad. And so you need to solve a series of puzzles that often the answer is found in the opposite location as where the puzzle itself is. And so you need to like flip back and forth between the two perspectives as you discover each individual piece.
Because you have cell service again.
Yeah. And like, that's a nice way where they integrate having, you know, some monology.
Oh, that was one of the big differences too on the train that we didn't mention. Q uses his phone to take pictures of stuff and he'll like shove his phone in people's face. Like, does this look familiar to you? Which is a clever solution. And with no cell service, I still think that was kind of clever.
Yeah, because you can still do that on your phone.
Yep.
So yeah, you eventually figure out that Ratchet also blackmailed this banker into storing his money and doing stuff with it because, you know, he's an asshole. And the banker was a refugee from somewhere in the Middle East. I forget exactly where.
Iraq. I would remember that.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed that little tidbit that he's from Iraq and just, you know, trying to live a better life for his kid. And had nothing to do with America. No political thing, just live a better life, my dude.
and then saying, yeah, if you don't bank my money, I will murder your child. And it's like, great, real nice guy.
That's why it had 12 fans. 13? 13 fans.
Mm-hmm. And so once you finally make it into the vault after a long series of puzzles.
That was a lot. That was a lot of little puzzles.
Yeah. You get to go back to the train and figure out who the 13th killer was. And you have your big dramatic reveal. They leap out of the moving train while going over a gorge instead of being taken into the police.
Fucking superhero vibes here. Supervillain, superhero, something like that.
Yep. And definitely in a way that absolutely no one could have possibly survived that. So, of course, when you wrap up in the final station, you get a letter indicating that, of course, this person survived. And you're like, great. Don't know how they survived, but they did. So we sort of run through the plot. I've made my feelings that I liked the first 2/3, and overall the last third didn't work as well for me, especially the Venice section. The going back and forth doing the puzzles at the bank, it was an interesting gameplay thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I felt like it fit in a Poirot game, but it was definitely like, oh, this is a cool idea.
I think one of the biggest differences between the first 2/3 and the Lockport portion of it is the sense of urgency. Even though I made the joke earlier about the murder, normally you would be a sense of urgency, but you're trapped. And only one person was killed. So it's just, you're just vibing out. Everyone's just chilling while you're looking for a murderer. Versus when you're in Venice, there is a different sense of urgency there. Like your characters are finally running. You have free roam of the city. You have more puzzles. You have to switch between the two. The pacing just became much different. And I enjoyed the different change of pace, but it was kind of a pacing whiplash. But I did still enjoy it.
And I would say this is definitely the best of the Poirot games by a pretty significant margin that we've covered so far. I would need to refresh my memory on the first one, the ABC Murders, which is the oldest game, but done by yet another studio, over whether or not I like that one or this one more. But I like this guy. It's a very nice mixed story and detective game. Are there any other points you want to cover on this before we wrap this game up?
I'm going to go through all the little details I noticed that I was amused of. Let's see. What are my notes? Let's see. Talked about the Amex credit cards for Archibald. Man, he was buying lots of stuff. In the other games, he was also smug and confident. This one, it wasn't as annoying as it was at the other games. Maybe because he's so much older, like based in 2023. So it's like at some point it goes like the problem was unworthy of Hercule Poirot. And I thought that was amusing. The e-cigs, I've already talked about the pistol. Oh, one small error, even though with all the attention to detail, is the little girl's nanny. Her warrant is in metric.
Oh, yep.
Her height and stuff is in metric. And I was like, because the second time I played, I was hunting for little details.
Yeah, it makes sense when it's a European studio making it.
That makes sense. But the whole phone thing, and since it's in 2023, Hercule also makes fun of one of the characters' Blackberries. For our younger listeners, a Blackberry is a phone with a keyboard. But all the book references, but technical wise, right? Like the eyes move a bit at all times. There's little facial tics for the characters. And one of the criticisms we had in the last Hercule Poirot game that we discussed was the dead eyes of facial model. So this production value felt much higher. The characters much more natural, which the other games had a wide uncanny valley. But I think it was worthy of following a book. Yeah, and this is kind of what I want to talk about.
Yeah, like this guy, I definitely recommend it for anybody who wants a nice, cozy mystery. Again, odds are low that you haven't been exposed to this story at some point, just because it's hard to not know something about it, because it's one of the most famous mysteries of all time and gets remade about once every 30 years as a movie.
And they make sure you know it's famous because of the loading screen. Yeah, they tell you that stuff.
I'm not sure if this was Christie's first big hit, but it was very early in her career. I think it's 1933 that she wrote it. And I think she started writing around 27. So it's like the fourth or fifth book that she wrote. So it's pretty early.
Only but a goodie. 1934. 91 years ago. Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Almost on the 100th anniversary. And we can say we're recording this in a timely manner because the next game in this franchise is coming out in 2 weeks at time of recording.
I'm looking forward to that. I've got some questions about it, though. Did you play the demo?
I played the demo and it didn't grab me. I can't put my finger on it. During that demo, the movement felt really janky in a way that I don't know how to identify yet.
From this one's Death of the Nile, which is also one of the newer movies. Who the hell plays him?
Kenneth Branagh.
Kenneth Branagh plays him, yeah. So it's one of the newer movies, but at this time, it's based in 1970s.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how that's going to go.
So it makes him, at the bare minimum, in Murder on the Orient Express, he's like 70, right? Like 30s, 50 years.
Don't worry about the time, because once you're shifting stuff around, it's kind of like, it didn't make any sense.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm just nitpicky now. But at least no cell phones this time. I really want to know if he dances.
I don't know. So I didn't see anything in the demo, but...
I mean, there's a disco background. A lot more talking choices, it looks like. A lot of afros.
Yep.
But I'm looking forward to it. Let's see, what is the price now for Murder on the Orient Express? It's 70% off, so it's like $12. Full price is $40 for $12. Yeah, like $1 an hour. Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, it's very good.
I'd recommend that.
Well, I'd say this one's worth quite a bit more than $12. Whether or not 40 is completely up to you.
$12 is good. $1 an hour, unless you try to 100%.
So, what have you been playing?
Helldivers, a lot of Helldivers. Trying to slug through Disco Elysium. And my problem with Disco Elysium is like just analysis paralysis. Like, well, if I make this choice, well, I can't make their choice.
Yep. You just got to go for it.
I know. And then the short one, I played and beat Orwell, Keeping an Eye on You, which is too real. I don't think we will do a review on that one with the current climate of the world. It's just too real. So that was not a waste of a gaming time, but it was a game that's been on my Steam list for a long, long time. I'm happy I got it out of the way. And I think my short detective game is going to be The Shiva. I think that one should be like 2 hours, a point and click game, which is a Jewish game. And I will probably ask one of my Jewish friends, yo, what the heck's this?
Yeah, I should do that one too. I just wrapped The Darkest Files, and that was quite the experience.
That sounds spooky.
It's not supernatural, but it is dark. It's about post-war Germany. You're digging up Nazi crimes, cold cases, and, 10 to 15 years after the events, trying to actually bring the perpetrators to justice.
War is over, but justice is not served. Former Nazis walk free. No, man. No. Don't want Nazis to walk free.
It's a very good game, but it puts you through an emotional ringer.
I'm not ready for that.
Yeah, so that was my heavy game. So I had to take a little break before I dive into Disco Elysium, because I know that's also heavy.
Oh, God, yeah. I like the artwork in this game.
It's quite well done, and we're going to do an episode on it, so I won't get too far into the details.
Yeah. How long was it?
10 hours? I redid a little bit of stuff, and I know I left it running, so I'm not entirely sure my Steam numbers are accurate.
That's doable. 10 hours is doable.
I have 11 hours playtime listed. I think you could probably do it in a bit less.
Okay. 10 hours is doable.
It's been described as an Ace Attorney-like to me. That's a incomplete comparison. Like, aspects of it fit and aspects of it don't. Because you are doing an investigation and then a court case. But unlike Ace Attorney, this game is mostly about the investigation. You spend 90% of the time there, and the court case is really just the examination that you did everything else correctly and set up your conclusions. Whereas, in Ace Attorney, the court case is half the game, and a significant amount of stuff is done there. Whereas here, the parlor scene is the court case.
Looking at games that you've beaten too, I'm like, whoa, the next Duck Detective game, it's like 2.5 hours. I could speed run that one.
Oh, yeah, that one's fun, too. And if you want a light game, it's much better, by the way.
Now that we're actually releasing the podcast and this shit's now real, I got to step up my game and build a deeper backlog so I don't get caught off guard.
No, I mean, we've got a pretty good backlog. We're in good shape.
Shh, they don't know that. They don't know that.
Oh, they do now. All right. Anything else you want to hit?
I mean, to our listeners, thanks for supporting us, even though we've been spamming all of our friends and families. It's been fun. And I hope if you guys will ever try any of these games or make suggestions or something, then, this is just a fun hobby for us. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you for participating in this journey with us. You can find us on Blue Sky at Flatfoots and Fools, one word, at bsky.social. The podcast is edited by Peter Crevier. Podcast art is by Lolita Gross. Music by Antonic Music. Bye-bye, everyone.
Don't get murdered.